If you are frustrated that your team keeps dropping the ball, it might be because you never handed them the play in the first place. Let's be real. Most teams aren't struggling because they lack passion. No, they're struggling because they're unclear on the win. And so here's the tough truth. If you're the leader, you set the tone. Confused leaders create confused teams. Welcome to Church Made Simple, where churches thrive when everyone knows what to do and why it matters. This podcast exists to replace confusion with confidence, one conversation at a time, so your team can serve with clarity, confidence, and purpose. And today we're talking about one of the most overlooked responsibilities of leadership, and that is modeling clarity. So let's get into it. Clarity does not automatically flow through your church. No, it flows from the top down. So as a leader myself, I can tell you, I have made these big mistakes. I have been vague, and because I've been vague, my team is unsure about things. I've been inconsistent, and when I'm inconsistent, my team begins to hesitate. Sometimes I've just made it up as I go, and guess what? My team did too. And here's the problem. A lot of leaders, especially in church, we assume that we're being clear because the vision is loud in our own heads, but our team cannot read our minds. They can only repeat what they hear and what they see modeled after us. So as a leader, how do we correct this? Well, it's not going to be corrected by our teams. In other words, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results from them. No, we have to do something inside of us. And so if you are a team leader in your church, volunteer, staff, or you're the lead pastor, let's do a quick self-assessment together. This is going to be difficult for you, but I think it's important to do. You're probably contributing to the confusion if you are constantly having to re-explain decisions or directions. You ever been there? You're constantly re-explaining decisions and directions. Now, I want to say something to this. There are some leaders that are so self-aware that they're actually doing this because they love the attention. They love when leadership flows back up to them. So there's some leaders, you're one of them, you want people to re-explain decisions, you want to re-explain decisions and directions to your team. You want people coming to you, asking you, hey, what did you say about that? Hey, can you give me clarity? Because you like to be needed. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is a dangerous zone to be in if you are a leader. You shouldn't have to constantly re-explain all your decisions, re-explain all the directions of what you're supposed to do. Second thing, self-assessment here. Is your team unclear on what success looks like in their role? Now, I'm not talking about again, what is success? So we've defined this in such a gray area. Is success for every team member that the church just needs to grow? Well, if that's the case, that's very unclear because what does growth look like? If the goal or success looks like in your church that everybody tithes, okay, well then why do you need team members? Why do you need volunteers, right? So we have to be very clear on what success looks like for each individual person in their roles. And speaking of our team members, speaking of volunteers, are your volunteers inconsistent and disengaged? And yet they don't know why. You don't know why. No one seems to know why. If you ask them, they don't know why. That could be something that's flowing from you, not them. How about this? Your staff meetings feel like therapy instead of strategy. You ever been in one of those? Oh my gosh. I remember sitting through staff meetings when I first got on a church staff, and it was like people were they were talking about other people in the church and how this person wasn't doing well and this person wasn't doing well, and they're trying to psychoanalyze them in the middle of a staff meeting. And finally, it gets to a point, now that I look back, I'm thinking, why weren't we just talking about what we should be doing as a team, as staff? But staff meetings can get like that. Not even that. Even worse is when it feels like therapy for people around the table. Like these are our key leaders, our key directors in the church, and even they are having to have a therapy session in staff meetings. What about this one? You say things like, I already told them once, as if clarity is just this one-time announcement. Guilty, right? Here's the truth. If your systems always need explaining, they're not systems. They're just wishful thinking. If your systems always need explaining, they are not systems. They're just wishful thinking. So how do we model clarity? Well, let's break it down. Here's what modeling clarity actually looks like. First is real simple. You repeat what matters. You repeat it like it actually matters. Not one time, Not 2 times, not 3 times, not even 4 times. I say it this way to our team. Whenever you introduce something new to your volunteer team, you say it until they are vomiting it back up. Now, it's probably too graphic of a scenario for some people. So I'll say it this way. You keep repeating it until it's muscle memory for everyone on your team. If you want to be clear about something, you have to repeat it until it becomes muscle memory for everyone on your team. They can end your sentence before you say it. I shared that already, right? When we created this mission, I started communicating this mission to our church. We exist to introduce real people to the real Jesus. The first time I said it, no one knew what I was talking about. I began to teach on it. 3 months in, no one knew what I was talking about. But eventually, I would say, hey, welcome to Revive Church, where we, and as soon as I said we, everyone kicks in, exist to introduce real people to the real Jesus. People are mouthing along. People are saying it out loud. The crowd is saying it together. You have to say it until it is just muscle memory for everyone on your team. How do you model clarity? You define success before assigning tasks. Define the win before you assign tasks to somebody. Guilty. How many times in churches do we try to fill a position as fast as possible with someone who just seemingly looks like they're interested in the role because we feel like if we don't put somebody in there immediately, everything is going to fall apart. But truthfully, have you told that person what success even looks like? Because if you don't even tell them what success looks like, how are they going to win? So here's what winning looks like. Is one of the most powerful phrases your leader can use with you. Yeah, I'm talking to you team member. If you're asking someone, a director in your church, your pastor, however your church is organized, if you're asking a leader above you, how do I win in this position? And they don't know how to answer it. I'm just warning you, big red flag, don't step into that role yet. What does winning look like? Here's another way. You separate vision from logistics. As a visionary, I can tell you, I think vision is everything. I don't want logistics in my church. I don't want systems in my church, but I have learned they are important. If you have a clear vision, you also need a clear logistical system behind it. So if you're not careful, what you'll do is you will bury big picture purpose under a mountain of announcements. What do I mean? Hey, we need to keep the vision in the front of everything. But then you've got 25 minutes of announcements, of events, of sister so-and-so's in the hospital and all these other things. And none of it is communicated in such a way that it points back to the vision. Logistically, if you have a clear vision and you're going to communicate all these announcements, they need to point back to the vision. So if you want to remain clear, you have to make sure you separate vision and logistics. Here's another one. You give people a shared language. A shared language. Language is what creates culture. And if everybody is using different terms, you're always going to have misalignment in your culture. You're always going to have misalignment in your church as a whole. So one time we had a coach come in and he encouraged us to do this. He said, I want you to create a word bank. And I want you to write all the words that your church uses, all across your teams, all across your leadership, everything, all these terms that you use. To the point of tithes, offerings, first-time guests, diversity, culture, community, small groups, everything you use. And I want you to see if people on your team can actually tell you what they mean. And if they can't tell you what they mean, or if they begin to use a different term altogether, you'll know you're misaligned. I would encourage you to do the same thing. Get with your leadership, like your executive leadership team, start writing out all kinds of different language, and then go around and have some meetings with different areas of your church, your kids ministry, your guest experience ministry, your parking team, whoever it is. And I want you to start asking them questions around the language that you have and see if they don't deviate. If they deviate, it's not their fault. It's yours if you're the leader. We are called to be clear on the language that we share because language creates the culture. Lastly, if you want to model clarity, you got to learn to simplify. And that's what this podcast is all about. So welcome. Hey, clarity does not mean that we keep saying more. It means we say less, but we say it better. As a podcaster, communicator, pastor, I can tell you right now, I talk too much. You're probably experiencing that in this podcast. I'm looking at my time going, yeah, I'm almost at time. Clarity does not mean saying more. It means saying less, but better. You have to practice this. when you want to explain something, when you want to cast vision to someone, and this is not just leader to subordinate, this is everybody on the team, whether you're the number one key leader of your church or you're what we call a second chair leader. You are somebody who is carrying the vision and the mission. You have to learn to say less, but say it better. People remember less more often than they remember more. All right. Now that you've learned to model clarity, though, you have to learn you can't delegate it. You have to multiply it. Once you learn to model clarity, you can't delegate clarity. You have to multiply it. See, as our churches grow, our systems begin to matter so much. When we first started our church back in 2011, we knew some basic systems from growing up in church, from serving on volunteer teams all of our lives, the group that helped us start the church. We knew some of the basic systems, but we really didn't have clarity on those systems, and we didn't have the right systems. As we grew, we realized systems matter. It's not just hoity-toity, let's worship Jesus together, let's sing Kumbaya. No, like you have to have systems. If systems don't have leadership clarity, though, they begin to become red tape. They're bureaucracy. You essentially turn into Washington, D.C., and you'll burn out your team because you can't delegate clarity. You can hire people to do tasks, and you can promote people for their skill, but you will only multiply what you model. Your team will always echo your tone if you're the leader of the church. And so if you want clarity across your ministry, you have to start it. Very practical action steps that you can do this week to help you model clarity and begin to multiply it. First, if you're the leader of any team in your church, if you're a second chair leader, begin to audit your communication rhythms. We already talked about this. Do a word bank. See how people define certain words on the board. Then do a personal audit of your communication rhythm. Are you consistently communicating expectations? Or do you only communicate expectations when something goes wrong? I've been there. Are you burning out your team because all you're doing is pointing out when there's a flaw, not celebrating when there is a win? Number 2, ask your leaders to repeat back to you what they just heard. If you're the pastor or you're a leader of a team, ask those key leaders in your team to just repeat back what they heard. Not what did I just say, but hey, I feel like I said a lot right now. Could you just repeat back to me what you heard? That's a key invitation for them to explain what you just said. And if they can't explain it in a way that you agree with it and you feel like you're all aligned, then you weren't clear enough. Start over again. That's number 2. Ask your leaders to repeat back what they said. Number 3, write a 1-page win sheet. List your core roles on your team and then list what winning looks like for each one of those, even down to the simplest things. There was a church, they had, I don't remember what their team was called, but it's like a host team, guest experience team. And there was a position in the church, this one volunteer role, that someone would show up and simply pick up trash in the sanctuary before the first service and between the first and second service. That was their role. And because it was a larger church, I should say. This isn't like a church of 50 in the backwoods of Tennessee. No, this is a mega church. And so it took some time. And when you ask them, what do you do? They knew what to do. They knew how to clearly communicate what they do. I make sure there is no trash on any piece of furniture or any floor when service begins. That's what winning looks like. It was that simple. Now, we might look at that and go, well, of course they know that. Okay, but I have people in our church, and I've got some students even, who when you tell them, hey, can you go pick up the trash in the sanctuary? They'll go, yeah, sure. And they'll pick up the first 3 pieces of trash, and then they'll walk away from that because they did something that they thought was right, but they didn't win. Why? Because I didn't clarify what the win was. The win was not to just pick up a few pieces of trash. The win is make sure there is no trash on any piece of furniture or the floor before service starts. Make sure you have a 1-page win sheet for every role in your church. Lastly, download the discussion guide for this episode. It's called When Clarity Leads, Chaos Leaves. And it is built for team conversations around clarity, around your culture, and around your expectations. I want to encourage you to download that. The link is in the description below. Listen, when the leader is clear, the team has confidence, but when the leader is foggy, the team starts guessing, and guessing will always lead to frustration. You don't have to be the perfect leader, but you do have to be clear. And we are here to help you lead with that kind of clarity. So again, download the free discussion guide, When Clarity Leads, Chaos Leaves. And click that link in the description. Use it with your staff, your volunteers, your ministry team this week. And if you haven't already, I don't know what you're waiting for, subscribe to the YouTube channel or whatever podcast platform you're listening to. Be sure to like this episode and share it with somebody else. And comment below what you are learning, because together we are going to build some ministries that are simple, strong, and sustainable. And I want to hear your voice as well. Well, next week on Church Made Simple, we are diving into the difference between real vision and just noise. Because if your team can't repeat your vision, it's not vision, it's just clutter. See you next time.